It's so good to be back. I feel like coming home here. Great to be back, to see all the familiar faces and all the new faces, and meet all the new folks too today. So thank you for having me back, and it's an honor for me to be here. So today is the second Sunday in Advent, as we mentioned before, and Advent in the more traditional sense is really a time of celebration of the birth of Jesus, of course. And when in Unity, we look at it more metaphysically. Metaphysically, I mean that when we look at the Bible in Unity, we look at those stories in the Bible and the events and people as representing states of consciousness that we go through and travel through on our spiritual journey. So metaphysically, Advent for us is a time of really embodying the qualities of hope, peace, love, and joy, so that we can birth a higher consciousness in ourselves. It's a reminder to really bring those qualities forth, to step into that new awareness. So today is about peace. And I don't know about all you, but looking at the world around us, when we're facing war and hate crimes and all the other things that we face in our lives, health challenges and challenges with family, loss of jobs, all those things. The list goes on and on and on, right? Of the challenges that we face in life. And sometimes in the midst of all of that, it can be a bit overwhelming. And peace can seem a bit elusive to us. And the ups and downs and the twists and turns of life make it a bit difficult for us to embody peace at times. So what truly is that peace that we're striving to embody? Our co-founder in Unity, Charles Fillmore, says that peace is the harmony and tranquility derived from awareness of the Christ consciousness, awareness of that God's self within, the divine within, the peace and tranquility. So I was thinking about the song that we sing every Sunday here at the end of our church service, "Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me." And I was reflecting on those three little letters that make up the first word of that phrase, let there be peace. And how in those three little letters, that's such a huge spiritual practice for us, and a huge spiritual principle for us to let there be peace in us. And for those of you who know me well, you know that I'm big on the fifth basic principle in Unity, which is that it's not enough for us to study these teachings and to talk about them on Sundays. We have to go out and live them and prove them in the world. And so today I'm going to offer us 3 spiritual practices for us to really work on through the holiday season, through all the holiday hubbub, through all of that, to really practice these principles as we go forth to embody peace and be peace in our lives and in our world. So, I have an affinity sometimes for acronyms. So I've created an acronym for us so it's easy for us to remember, and I know it's not so simple to practice, but for us to really integrate into our lives, and that's the acronym for LET. LET. And the 3 practices that I'm offering us today are to look for what's possible. Look for what's possible. The E is for embrace what is and eliminate what's not helpful. And the T is for trust in a loving, supportive universe. So let's look at what that means for us, first of all. So looking for what's possible. We live in this most amazing, loving, supportive universe with infinite possibilities for our lives. When we are connected to those divine ideas, to that divine wisdom, we are in touch with those infinite possibilities. And yet, are we looking for them? Are we looking for what's possible in the face of all these challenges? I was talking to my sister earlier this week, and I've had kind of a big fall, a lot on my plate this fall. She said, Wendy, you have a very heavy, large plate right now. And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess I do. And I'm not going to bore you with the stories around all of that. But I do want to share with you one moment of inspiration that has carried me through. I'm going to get all teary here. Carried me through and really helped me to embody peace more in my life. And that is my best friend of 30 years went into Stanford University Hospital in October, a little over 9 weeks ago, for a heart procedure. She had had triple bypass a year and a half before that, and they were going to do a little procedure to help her through to the next big heart surgery. And they lost her several times during the surgery and had to resuscitate her. And she then went on life support. And I went to see her 2.5 weeks into it. And man, people at Stanford are amazing. And she's an amazing woman. And so I went to see her 2.5 weeks into it. And while I was there, she got on the heart transplant list. And all of her closest friends were gathered for a prayer circle and when we got the news. And so she got on the heart transplant list that morning, and by that night, she had a heart. And we were sending her love, and we were sending love to the family of the donor, and just love and comfort, and so grateful for the people who give of themselves in that way. And so through the night, of course, we were praying for her, and the next morning I was scheduled to go spend the day with her in ICU. And I got word before getting there that the heart wasn't viable. So she didn't have her surgery in the middle of the night. And I walked into Laurel's room that morning, and I looked at her, and I'm like, so, how you doing? Like, really, how you doing, And she looked at me with such peace and such, just the peace that passes our human understanding, and calm, tranquility. And she looked at me and said, Wendy, really, I'm good. This allows me to get stronger for my new heart. It allows me to get more fluids off my body so that I can integrate my new heart more easily. Talk about a teacher of peace. To be so quickly looking for what's possible in the moment. Because how often do we, she was acknowledging some disappointment as well. But she was able to embody peace in that moment because she was in the moment looking for what was possible in that moment. And bring it forth. In Unity, we talk about demanding the blessing from a situation or accepting the gift of a situation. And she was doing that. She was letting peace be in her. Now, she got a new heart that next night, which was even stronger and more vibrant and has been super integrating well. The rest of her body is still catching up, so prayers are welcome. She's still in ICU, but she is steadily and slowly making progress. So grateful for that. Now, we're not all fighting for our lives in ICU, but we all have hard challenges that we go through. We all face hardships in our lives. We have to navigate some pretty tough terrain, don't we? And so when we stop and pause and look for what's possible from this moment, and what's possible from this moment and this moment, it opens up that divine potentiality that we are and that peace within our hearts. So over the last 12 and a half years of being a certified life coach as well as a Unity minister, I've had the privilege of being with people day in and day out, holding the space for them to explore what's possible. And so I invite us all today to really think about what's that challenging situation in your life that is a little bit difficult to face, maybe feeling a little unsettled around it, and to really look for what's possible in this moment coming out of that situation. What's possible? I don't mean denying the pain or the hardships or the other feelings that we're having, because it's important to feel all the feels and be present to it, but really looking for what wants to emerge from that place. Letting peace be in us from that place of looking for what's possible. And then we can also embrace what is. Embrace what is and eliminate what's not helpful. So, the universe not only surrounds us in love and light and, has our back, but it also has a sense of humor, I found. And this week when Laurel was going through pain and I was going through a bunch of stuff, I was really kind of up against it. And sometimes when I'm in that place where I'm not feeling that peace, I sometimes draw a card from a spiritual deck or do something else to kind of connect me with that Christ within. And so I drew a card for Laurel and I this week, and I drew the card of peace. And the card of peace says, embrace your confusion. Let there be peace in not knowing all the answers. And doesn't the human part of us, well, I'll speak for myself, the human part of me wants to know, right? I want to know it's going to turn out all right. I want to know what's next for me. I want to know, how this situation's going to work and how that situation's going to work. And really, that's the time for us to pause and go into prayer and meditation, right? To embrace the confusion, embrace what is, to pray, to open ourselves, to open our being to that Christ consciousness, to that divine consciousness, and to eliminate all the stuff that bubbles up in us that's just not helpful anymore. We all have those thoughts and beliefs in our mind and being that are no longer helpful. They may have served us at once, but it's time to let them go. And so eliminating what's not helpful. There's sort of a divine paradox that happens here that May Rowland, a former director of Silent Unity, spoke about in her book, Dare to Believe. And she says, paradoxically, the more we change and grow spiritually, the more we attain inner stability, the more we are able to be poised and serene, confident and fearless through all things. So when I was in Tucson for Thanksgiving visiting my family, and my stepdad shared a quote with me that I just loved, and get ready, it's another couple acronyms, y'all. But I hope they resonate with you. But the quote was by, I found out later, was by Zig Ziglar, the author and motivational speaker. But he says this about fear. He says, fear has two meanings: forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. The choice is yours. I'm choosing face everything and rise. And sometimes we have those moments of but making that choice. We get to make that choice day in and day out to face everything and rise. And I want to share with you a little story about what I've been up to during the pandemic. So I'm guessing that most of us had some pandemic obsession that got us through that odd time. So mine was hiking the Colorado Trail with one of my dear friends, Pam, who's here somewhere. Oh, there she is in the back. She's an awesome human, so get to know her today. So, we've been hiking the Colorado Trail, and it's 485 miles from Denver to Durango over some of the most beautiful territory in Colorado. Just scenic views everywhere and very tough terrain. And so we've been hiking that, and we've had lots of lessons, spiritual lessons along the trail, lots of amazing people that we've met, and lessons that we've learned from each one of them. And I have also had some interesting metaphors, one which I want to share with you today. I found I had no backpacking experience before this, so it's been a huge, steep learning curve. I backpacked a few times in my 20s, but I've been learning as we go along. And one of the survival skills that I've been learning is filtering my water from the streams and ponds and whatever water source is available, and how to manage the water from water source to water source. And it's been such an interesting teacher for me, because Water is life, right? Especially in the backcountry, it's survival. And that metaphor of life-giving water and having to take water from whatever life gives me. Maybe it's a kind of a stream with a lot of sediment. Sometimes life gives us a lot of mud. Sometimes our water is, it's all stirred up, right? Sometimes we have a lot of sediment in it. Sometimes it's crystal clear, but there's still some little parasites in there that we need to get rid of. And so learning to filter the water through my handy Sawyer squeeze is such a great metaphor that we take whatever it is that we have in life, right? And we filter it through our divine filter. We filter it through our higher knowing, our spiritual perspective. And out of that comes that life-giving water, that life-giving energy, if you will, when we use our internal divine filter and allow ourselves to take those kind of parasitic thoughts that are in each of us and let them go. Filter them out because they are not serving us any longer. Seeing them and letting them go in such a way that we can be crystal clear and be vessels of God in this world and of peace in this world. So that's part of embracing what is and eliminating what isn't. And then we can trust. The last part of letting is trusting the divine in and through and around us. There's a great passage from Isaiah chapter 26, verse 3. Those of steadfast mind you keep in peace because they trust in you. And so when we are clear from coming from that spiritual perspective, we can embody that peace in ourselves. When we remember, when we trust that we live in a loving, supportive universe, when we trust that we have the spiritual resources within us to carry us over the toughest terrain of our lives, then we can embody peace. Then we can let peace be in us. That's a big part of the journey. So as we look for what's possible, embrace what is, eliminate what's not helpful, and really trust in God. Trust in our inner resourcefulness, of spiritual resourcefulness. Then we let peace be in us, and that flows out into our lives. So I want to close with one other reading that I was introduced to actually during the last Celebration of Life service that I did here at Columbine Unity. And since I was introduced to this passage, I've had it on my wall since then, and it's been kind of a guiding quote for me. And it's by the Rabbi Rami Shapiro from The Way of Solomon. Life is fleeting, the passing of moments upon moments. Embrace them as they come. Do not cling to them as they go. In this alone, there is tranquility. Moments and the passing of moments. This is life. There is a suffering natural to this flow. There's no escaping either sorrow or joy. Do not add to the first by clinging to the second. For in doing so, you deny the flow itself. Live the moment, attend to the doing. Accept whatever comes into your hand. In this alone is the path to tranquility. So I invite us into that path of tranquility this week, to be peace in our hearts and minds, and to bring that peace, that light of peace to the world as we go forth. And so it is.